Hey guys, welcome to the next video on Node.js tutorial for beginners. In this video, we will see how we can use the Node.js documentation effectively, and we will see how to use global objects in Node.js. So let's get started. First of all, let's see how to use documentation and where to find documentation. So just open your favorite browser and we will go to the Node.js website, which is nodejs.org. And in nodejs.org website there is a section called docs. So just click this tab here, and here you will find the various documentations on Node.js, different versions of Node.js, and recently the newer version of JavaScript is also released, which is ES6 and beyond, and some of the new concepts are also released under this new version. So you may want to use or see at least these new concepts, and if you want to adopt them, you can do it. But for now, I want to show you the Node.js documentation. So in here, for example, I will go to this version, which is LTS, which is long-term version. So I will click this version, which is 6.92.1 at the time of making this video. And in here you can see there is a lot of documentation here. On the left hand side you can see different modules and different type of sections here. So what we have done till now is we have used this HTTP module, which is a built-in module, right? And you can find documentation on this here under HTTP, right? And when you click this and go down a little, first of all, these are all the functions which you can use with this HTTP module. And when you go down, you can see the stability. So stability is the thing which you may want to see before going inside the documentation. And if you see that this module and this documentation is stable, then you can proceed further. So first look at this thing, if it's stable or not for the documentation, and then go down and see whatever you want to see. For example, how to use this get function with HTTP, or how to use even this HTTP module, how to require, and then a lot of documentation you can find here, right? So whenever you are in doubt, just come here and see the documentation. Now let's talk about the global objects. Now in this documentation, when you go to this section which says globals and click here, you will see JavaScript, or in particular Node.js, have some global objects. So if you are coming from front-end JavaScript on the browser side, you may know that there is a global object in JavaScript which is called window object, and under this you may have seen the console object, or set interval, or other functions related to this window object, something like alert, or different kind of global object. In the same way, Node.js also have these global objects which you can use in your Node.js code. And let's see how we can use them. So I will go to my code editor here, and I will remove everything, and let's start from the beginning, for example. And let's see which function we want to use. So for example, I will use this set timeout function here, okay? And as the name suggests, it is used to set some timeout, and it has an argument which is a callback function, and a delay, whatever delay we want to give here, okay? So we can just write set timeout, and then we can call a function. So just write function, and this will be an anonymous function. So just write this blank bracket and then the curly braces, something like this. Okay, so this is our anonymous function here. And then the timeout, for example, I want to give the timeout 300 milliseconds, so you can give the timeout in milliseconds here. So second argument is the millisecond timeout, right? And inside this function I can perform some task, for example printing on the console. So I can use console log function for this. We have already used this console log in our previous program, and we will do the same here also, right? So what we can do, we can just print, for example, 3 seconds have passed, for example, something like this. Okay, and then save your program, and I will open the console, and in here I will just run my app, for example node app.js, and run it. And when you run it, it will just wait for 3 seconds, and then it will print this message which we are printing using console log. Okay, so once again run the program, it will wait for the 3 seconds, and then it will print the message, and then it will come out of the event loop, for example, and it will close the program, right? In the same way, you can use a save or set interval function to set some interval. So instead of set timeout, you can use this function which is used to set interval. Now for this set interval, what we can do is we can define a variable, for example, and we will say this is our time variable, and we will assign the value of 0 to it, right? And then what we can do here is inside this set interval function, we can just use time plus equals 2, because our timeout or time interval we are using here is 2000 milliseconds, right? And for example, we can just print the value of this time here, and we can say this much amount of time has passed, or second have passed. Okay, and save your code and run your code once again, and let's see what happens here. So 2 seconds have passed, 4 seconds have passed, 6 seconds have passed. So it will increase the time, the value of this variable, by 2 again and again, and this function will enable your Node.js program to run in a loop kind of thing. So it will never end until you have some condition to end it. Okay, so what you can do to end it, you can just press Ctrl C to come out of the program. Okay, so let's say we want to come out of the set interval function when some condition is met. So for this we can define a variable called some other variable, for example timer, which is equal to set interval, and then we can clear this timer when some condition is met. So for example, if the value of time, so if the value of time is greater than, for example 7, then we want to clear the interval. So just use a global object called clear interval, and then we can pass this timer variable here, and it's going to clear this interval. Okay, and then let's run the program once again, and let's see what happens. So 2 seconds have passed, 4 seconds have passed, 6 seconds have passed, and then when the value has become 8, at this time it is going to clear the interval, because when this condition is met, this function is called which is going to clear the timer, and it's going to come out of this function, right? Now I'm going to also show you some of the other important objects which you can use in Node.js, which is dir name and file name. So we know that we can use a console log to print anything on the console, and there is a global object called dir name. So just write double underscore and then write dir name here. It's going to give you the directory name you are currently in. So I'm just going to once again run the program, and you can see it's going to print the directory name. Right now, for example, I want to print the file name I'm currently in. You can just write underscore underscore file name, right? And then you can run your program once again, and now it first prints the directory name, which is by this object dir name, and then we have the file name here. You can see app.js file, right? And you can go through this documentation once again, how they work. So for example, I go to the dir name. It's basically showing the same example which I have shown you, and here also file name, and the explanation of this function or object you can find in this documentation. So this documentation is going to help you a lot whenever you are developing in Node.js. So please keep in mind, whenever you are developing your server or any Node.js application, just go through the documentation whenever required. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and bye for